You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House. You're watching Worldview 2, a Brannon House television network.
The Tamara Scott Show. Tamara has served as the state director for one of America's largest pro-life, pro-family public policy organizations. In 2007, Tamara was named one of America's top 10 most influential kingmakers by the Religion News Association. Tamara has spent years proclaiming and defending the values of a Christian worldview that is the foundation of our constitutional republic. And now, here is your host, Tamara Scott.
Hi, everybody, welcome. I am Tamara Scott. It is the Tamara Scott Show. It is Thursday, June 12, 2025, in the year of our Lord. And as you know, we help you live God's word in today's world when the headlines hit home. We've got two special guests that are going to join us today. We've been focusing on the riots. And let me just go ahead, Reagan, I told you I was going to start with that video, but let me go ahead and just get a couple of things on the riots out of the way. The first photo that I sent you is from Fetterman. U.S. Senator Fetterman. And I'm telling you, when Fetterman is the shining star in the Democrat Party, they may want to rethink their strategies. When this is the voice of reason in the Democrat Party, he said, I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration. But this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. I mean, a couple years ago, we wouldn't have seen him as the leading voice or a trusted voice in the Democrat Party. But I said in my Facebook post, hats off, or in his case, hoodie off, because I think he always wears the hoodie sweatshirt. So hoodie off to Fetterman in his comment. And then the second photo, if you can, real quickly. Rioting in a country you broke into, waving a flag for the one you escaped, while burning the flag of the one you're begging to stay in. Make sense? No. It doesn't.
Direction.
All right, so let's go. We're gonna have two great guests today. One is going to share a story that I think is going to pull your heartstrings and just give you some hope. The other is both are going to give you hope. I should say that better. The other is Dr. Ken Canfield, fathers.com, the National Center on Fathers. And he joins me kindly every year when I ask him, let's talk about fatherhood in America. And he's here with us. But first, let's play this little video from Bill Maher.
This is why the traditional dad, the trad dad, needs to make a comeback. Not all the way back to the 1950s psychopath who never said he loved you and hit you with a belt, but just back to the dad who believes that because I said so is a perfectly legitimate answer to any question a child may have. Just back to the dad who would never say anything as stupid as, my kid is my hero, or where do you want to eat dinner, or one more story, and then we really have to start thinking about going to bed, okay? Trad dads don't negotiate. They say, you will apologize to your mother. Don't make me turn this car around. Some things just happen because life is unfair. Clean your room. Be quiet. The adults are talking, and it's not all about you. Mostly, a trad dad knows he's your parent, not your friend. Hey, buddy isn't in his vocabulary. He isn't your emotional support animal. He's simply a guy who understands the job, to raise an adult who can survive in the wild.
Okay, Ken Ham. When Bill Maher, I think he's more of I don't know if he's a Democrat still, but definitely more of a moderate middle voice. And when secular media is telling us we need the trad dads back, what do you say?
Well, being a son of a trad dad, I would just say, Bill, it's easy to be on the other side, not having reared children that we know, not having birthed children and gone through all of that anguish to point out, this is what you need to do. I think what he's doing, obviously, Tamara, is he's reading the cultural signals that we have come loose at the seams because of fatherlessness, fathers failing to follow through, fathers failing to be there and present. And so I don't know that the pendulum swinging all his direction is right, but he does note things that dads of other generations didn't do to the best. But the deal is this: every generation has to improve just this much and move the needle toward the father heart of God, which I know you know well. And that is bringing the spiritual, what I'd say, comfort, voice, and wisdom. And so, Bill, it's real easy. Open the Bible. There are over 1,100 passages that relate to the role of being a dad. And some of them, sure, were those dads of another generation who disciplined harshly. That's not good. But discipline is one of the hallmarks of a father that is engaged. So that's what I'd say to Bill. Love him anyway.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much. This is Ken Ham, Dr. Ken Ham, a friend of yours and mine. Sorry about that. Dr. Ken Canfield. I don't know where I came up with Ken's name. Dr. Ken Canfield is a nationally known leader and scholar who has committed his life to strengthening men, fathers, families, and grandparents. He founded the National Center for Fathering, which we call fathers.com, and the National Association for Grandparenting, and you know what? You can speak from experience here, because how many children and grandchildren do you have?
We have 5 married children and 16 grandchildren.
Blessings. What a huge blessing for you.
It is. It is.
All right. So we're laughing about a little bit this, but I mean, if I could, my husband used to teach Sunday school, and he would talk about this reading from Hallmark. Hallmark gave away cards to prisoners for Mother's Day. They ran out. They gave away cards for Father's Day. They couldn't get rid of them. No, the prisoners didn't have relationships with their dads. And I've toured Angola prison. I don't know if you ever went to tour Angola prison with our other friend David Lane, but in that prison, when the warden Kane told us, the last to come visit, the wife may leave. She may leave them. The girlfriend's gone, but the mom will come. The dads are usually gone, but the mom will come until she passes, and then there's no one.
Yes. You know, that leaves a deep open wound. And yes, I've been to Angola several times, and with you and David, that one visit. And you see the impact in a prison setting of when a dad isn't there, setting guidelines, making sure things are followed through. And when that is absent in a young man's life, he veers off to the magnetic pole of his culture. And we know in South Central Los Angeles, we're seeing the outcome right now. Gangs are recruiting 10, 11, 12-year-old boys that are fatherless to join in, and they'll just be a part of the party, which right now is reaping, unhealthy things and destruction. And so fatherlessness, I think, Tamara, and I know you agree, is at the core, the deep heart of many men, and they're looking to reclaim that identity. So if you're a dad or a friend of a dad, you honor them and say, you're doing a great job. And if they aren't, just send simple reminders of how important their role is. Nothing compares to the uniqueness and the things that a dad can speak to his son or to his daughter. And that's where we need to become verbal and engaged and allow what I call the I cans of fathering, based on research I've done over the decades, to just flourish.
Can you give us some of those I cans?
Absolutely. Shout out dads that are doing this. Let me say this, because I know you'll love this. As entrepreneurs, many times you're pursuing stuff because you're part of the American vision and dream at the expense of not pursuing the heart of your children. Look at the big three: Elon, Bill, and Jeff. These guys are the multi-billionaires. Look at their family life. Look at the wreckage of divorce, relationships that are outside of marriage, of multiple children not knowing when and how they're going to be attached to their father. Now, that's the big picture, but it also can be subtle here in America, where we put workaholism or our work above the connection and the heart of our family. And so the first in the I cans is involvement. Now, involvement has to do with your engagement. It's not just, I'm going to spend quality time. You don't get quality time unless you have quantity time. And so look at your calendar. Tamara and I both know you only have so many hours in a week. And I've asked Dad, you don't love this. What would make you a better father? More time. Well, that isn't it, because that's a mirage. It's prioritizing the time, the minutes you have, because as we know, blink and the time's gone and they're already away from the home. And so I'm all into the rebuilding process. And so this means for many dads, humility, going and saying, hey, I wished I would have, and so forth. And if you want access to your grandchildren, set them down, your children, that is, the parents of your grandchildren, say, hey, I did the best I could as dad, and I failed at some things. Would you agree? And then just be open, because they'll say, oh, yes, Dad, I've been waiting for this. I want to share what I wished I would have had with you. And then you suck it up and take it. Be a man, a dad, and then say, you're right. Thank you for sharing that. But let this go on record. I did some things that probably weren't the best, but I want to be the best grandfather, granddad I can be. And what you'll have is a generational relationship forming, and it centers around the involvement, the time you're willing to put in, and the priority that you're putting on that time.
Yeah, I tend to find as a grandparent, my husband tells the children, we call them grand blessings, that we're like parents with no rules. Obviously, we have a few rules, right? But I do find it, and people would always say it's so much more fun being a grandparent than a parent. And we probably should save this for Grandparents' Day. And I would think, no, I loved being a parent. I can't imagine anything more precious. But there is something about seeing your children raise their children, and especially for us in the admonition of the love and of the Lord, and hearing them talk about their scripture verses and what they've learned, that is my mission, right? My mission is those who are going to follow, to make sure that they know their Savior. I think it was James Vernon McGee. I'm not sure. Someone asked him how he would know if he was a successful parent, and he said, when my grandchildren's children see me in heaven.
Great grandchildren. Yes. So this investment is going to pay back. And what Tamara just brought out is the legacy potential that you have before you, and acting on it with steady investments of time is going to be a differentiator. The second in the ICANS is consistency. Oh my goodness. Raising kids, Tamara, I had to always come in and say, hey, is there anything I promised you that I haven't fulfilled? Consistency is your predictability and regularity. Now, this isn't, and the Bill Maher clip is somewhat characteristic of a prior generation who thought consistency was rigidity, my way or the highway. Consistency is a steadfastness. It is being there, not varying in your personality, characteristics, and so forth, but fulfilling those promises and being the reference point that children need. Now, identity formation is key. Dad, you were a determinant physiologically, whether you had a daughter or a son. Your connection to that daughter and son enhances their femininity or masculinity. So get close, be heartfelt connected, and consistency again is key, because we are moving at nano speed over here, over there. And sometimes the busyness interrupts, that regular evening meal or the breakfast get together or a time of devotion, particularly around the holidays.
All right. And can we get one more I can in before we go to break in a minute? Oh, no, I think we better go to break. I'll go to break. So I watch my clock. We'll be right back with Dr. Ken Canfield. We're talking about the I can of fatherhood. And I will just say this, no matter what your childhood was like or how bad your father may or may not have been or how good he was, you can write it today. You can change it. It can change with you. The curse can be broken and the blessing can begin. We'll be right back after this message.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
I'm talking with Dr. Ken Canfield. Fathers.com is where you can find his website. He founded the National Centers for Fathers, and he also now has the Center for Grandparents too. And that is grandkidsmatter.org, grandkidsmatter.org. All right, so Dr. Canfield, are there more I cans?
There are. And let me just give you the backdrop. We're concerned about flourishing families and communities. There's a mega international research project going on right now. I've been a participant in this. They're looking at 22 countries and determinants of flourishing. Guess what, fellow Americans, which is largely, I think, the group listening, we're not at the top tier. You know why? Many times we're pursuing stuff at the expense of relationship. I already gave you the example of how some are pursuing wealth. It may be pursuing name or identity, or you've just got to leave what you think is a highly valued legacy. When your legacy is attached to another father, a heavenly one, that legacy cannot be attacked or undertaken. And this is the challenge for those in leadership. Are you living in that sort of passionate way? Now, back to the icons of fathering. Based on research and flourishing, I've looked at the awareness factor. We have involvement, consistency, now awareness. Are you tuned in to what's going on with your children or grandchildren? Are YouTubing or TikToking or watching on the tube? Who are their friends? Who are their heroes? And the thing that we're challenged with is many times we're unaware because we are dealing with our own stuff, whatever that may be. But the thing that I have prayed for over the years for my 5 children and now 16 grandchildren, Lord, give them discernment, the ability to know right and wrong and to choose good friends and not get sucked into those friends who, are cool and so forth. And at the same time, again, responding to Bill Maher, he's concerned that awareness can be intrusive, where you run in and read your daughter's diary and stuff like that, where you become the fathering Bureau of Investigation. No, those children have been given to you as gifts, and you being an aware dad will distinguish you, and praying that they have discernment is going to be a huge asset for them.
Praying over your children, I can't think of anything more important. And we're now seeing videos on social media, and you can dismiss them if you want, viewers, but some of them are saying they were ex-witches or they were in certain cults. And they say we could tell which children had a circle of prayer around them. We could not penetrate and get to those kids, whether it was in the classroom or at night. Apparently, somehow they try to do this. So that's and predators as well will say they go after kids where they know there's no dad that's going to fight. There's no dad that's going to come after them. Think that through. All right, Dr. Canfield, any more I cans?
Yes, I've got an N and I've got an S for you because you like everything. It's the nurturance variable. This is a tough one. I didn't hear this till I was 35 years old from my dad, that he looked at me and said, I love you. And the reason he didn't is because his dad didn't say it to him, whose dad didn't say it to him. And so we got to stop this someplace. And so I was effusively doing that with my kids. And then I realized, oh, and I learned it from my wife. Dads, let me just say, your best human asset in your fathering is the mother of your children. Hopefully she's your wife. If not, civil respect for that mother wherever she is and whatever's going on is key. Mothers see things that dads don't. So I learned from my wife to say I love you to my kids, even though I didn't hear it. Nurturance also is the abundance of encouraging words. Think of the love languages that Gary has put together so succinctly. Are you giving encouraging words? Are you giving thoughtful gifts? They don't have to be expensive, but something thoughtful. Tamara received a birthday gift from one of my grandkids. And what was in it? It was a shark's tooth. He was at the beach and it's like in his special box in his house. And I thought, wow, Granddad's got a shark's tooth. So I put it up there. Maybe I could get this implanted right here. What do you think, bud? And everybody's laughing. But everybody is crying if we're not nurturing the hearts and the lives. Look for those times where you can send notes and cards and blessings. And these hands are meant to extend prayerfully, as you remarked, but as blessings as you care for and nurture your children. Now, at the same time, this may be new to you. So find another father figure that's doing it, or talk to your wife, but let it flow because there is healing in doing that.
I love the healing. You're absolutely correct. All right, the S?
The S is you. If you don't have healthy spousal interaction, and the S is spiritual infusion, you're missing two of what I'd say are the secrets. The ICANS has been developed. I developed over the years as I looked at the practices of effective fathers. What made them different? They were differentiated by having involvement, consistency, awareness, and nurturance. But how did they get there? They highly valued marriage. And let's say you've been through a marriage, maybe two, but when you highly value the woman in the house and demonstrate spousal, what I'd say, high quality relationship, children who have suffered through a divorce look and say, hey, marriage can work. And what you're doing is putting an asset that has been missing, because I just took a group, 50 dads in Spokane, Washington, through the ICANS and some other metrics. These dads were challenged in so many areas. They were needy. They were ordered by the court to take some fathering class. Tamara, out of the 50, actually it was more than 50, I think it's 55, only 2 were married. Marriage has just kind of, what happened? I can have kids, but, don't talk to Elon about this. He has 14 of them. And there are skills that people have that we can honor, but you've got to dig deep. Look at the lifestyle, look at the testimony. And when you find other dads, and if you're a dad listening, that you say, I like that guy, ask questions, find out what he does. And also tied to the S, this is maybe the biggest, is the spiritual infusion of the love of another father. You have a father who created this planet, who created you and me, that's nuts about you. Now, you may say, oh, I heard that in Sunday school. Oh, I grew up in the church. Oh, no, he is crazy about you. And he has not only given his life, because as Jesus said in John 14, there are over 21 occurrences of the word Father. And as they're wondering, Jesus, why are you doing this? He said, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. When you see the works and the actions that the Lord performed here on earth and now continues to do through his Holy Spirit, because he says, I got to go because I want to infuse the spiritual realm. So the S is the spiritual arena where when we pray, when we live honestly and transparently, because what I've found with my kids and grandkids, they like to hear when granddad messes up. They think, the sun rises and sets around me. Hello. Yes, they like to hear the foibles, the funny things, and in appropriate times and appropriate ways to their age, share some of the things that I did that wasn't right, that dishonored my Father in heaven, and what that was what were the consequences for that.
Perfectly said. And again, us being real. If we do let down our kids, I think when we apologize to them, it teaches them how to apologize, because there was nothing more difficult as a parent saying, you need to apologize to me. You don't want to teach kids to go around telling everybody to apologize to them. That's not the lesson. It's the art of being able to apologize and also to forgive as well. And I have a question for you. For women, I think we see this a little more. Women, it's hard for women to accept themselves, forgive themselves, think that they're good enough, think that they have self-worth. Is it hard for men to do that?
I think it's more so for women because so many women start their conversations with, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, stop being sorry, accept what God's love is for you and just move forward. Men face both shame and the accumulation of so many different messages, and they haven't had the confidence emotionally many times or spiritually unless they process something very deep. And what I see as I'm working on the Flourishing Index and applying it to fathering, I see a new generation of Gen Z, and following Gen Z is the Alpha generation. Many of my grandchildren are in that. And what I see is they are marching to a different drummer. I see flourishing fathers who now have experienced and know the value that comes when they put a high priority on being a father or father figure to those that are fatherless. And I just want to remind those that are watching or listening, if you're a man, and I would say this respectfully, Dad, go look in the mirror and you'll see one of those heroes forming in you. Because regardless of what you may have done or think about yourself, through you, the world, families, and communities are going to be changed through your leadership.
Yes, and this is so important, as you mentioned, society, and this isn't older statistics from CPL Action, but 65% of youths who commit suicide are in single-parent homes. 70% of homeless and runaway children, single homes. 85% of children, behavioral disorders, single homes, and 75% of children using illegal drugs are from single-parent homes. So for those of you who may find yourself in that situation, we're not condemning in any way. We're saying you've got a bigger hill to climb and we want to come around you. The church should come around you. Hopefully you can find people in your church who also want to mentor you and come alongside. But if we can, for those families out there, if we can, sometimes we don't want to make people feel bad, so we don't honor that which is good. In fact, in Ohio, they proposed a bill between Mother's Day and Father's Day this year to celebrate the natural family.
What a healthy idea.
Yes.
And that doesn't come at the disparagement of any other group. It's just saying, this is the way God planned it. This is the best for children, having the biological parents that gave them birth and their DNA. Some of those things we just understand better when we see so-and-so behaving like Uncle Sam or, Aunt Bertha or whoever. We get it. We get it. We're a little more forgiving. All right. A minute and a half.
Okay.
Words on the way out.
Glad to. First of all, for free resources and help, go to fathers.com. We were able to get that domain in the 90s. That's in the last century when the internet was coming on. But I just want to end with a story. It reminds me of a good friend, a colleague named Don. He was a researcher, very well known. And he was on a trip doing the work that many of us have to do on the road. And he called home and he talked to his daughter and said, hey, sweetheart, how are you? And he said, Tasha, I miss you. And then I said, could you get mom? And she blurted out this, hey, mom, the invisible man is on the phone. And in that moment, Tamara, Don went through a transformation. He knew there was something more important than having success at work or gaining resources. It was being a dad. And that brought a change in him where he called honestly and said, Kent, I need help. If you're a dad facing any situation with teens or difficulties, or even this, a mom, you can first go to fathers.com. We have tons of materials. But find for your children, single moms, father figures that are in their lives or in your family system. Talk about the things that you see and pray, Lord, bring them a human expression of what fathering is about. Because if they have that, they're going to latch on to it. And hopefully this dad, surrogate, father figure, whoever it is, can invest in them as he is able.
Dr. King Canfield, fathers.com and grandkidsmatter.com. Thank you so much for taking time out for us. Thank you for encouraging our dads out there, and it is never too late. Today is a new day. Start fresh. His mercies are new each morning, and each of us can raise those kids that God has given us to raise. He will equip us when he's called us. And if he's given you children, you are the one he wants to raise them. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, Dr. Ken Canfield. Joining me is Joseph Wood with a very interesting story. And I think, Dr. Canfield, you're going to hang around and get to hear this too. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
But with Brandon, it's always cutting edge stuff happening in the world. And it's not just from the political angle, because you can get that on other platforms, but it's always from the biblical angle. So you're dealing with a guy that loves Jesus. You're dealing with a guy that's very intelligent. You're dealing with a guy that is cutting edge conservatism, and you're dealing with a guy that wants to be biblical all at the same time. And so for that reason alone, I hope many, many people will not just lift up his ministry in prayer, but will also financially get behind it, because from the angle I'm trying to describe, he really is the only game in town. And we desperately need it in these last days. Can I get an amen to that?
All right. And I have to say this. I got so enthralled, I forgot to give this opportunity for all of you. We offered the Bella Grace. This is the little elixir in the sachet. Turn it sideways. It almost disappears. It's so slender. But inside is the cat's claw, astaxanthin, and collagen. Together, they are incredibly productive. Got an award in 2022 for cognitive function, and in 2023 in the sports arena for active ingredients, nutrition, and format. But the best thing is what many of you have noticed: muscle recovery, gut health, enhanced immunities, just all kinds of good things happening to your body, as well as cosmetically, which could be a byproduct of feeling better. You can go to Tamara, TAMARA.BellaGraceGlobal.com and find out for yourself before and after videos, informational videos, and clinical studies. Tamara, TAMARA.BellaGraceGlobal.com. Why? We want you feeling your best so you can be on the front line protecting your family. Now joining me is Joseph. I almost called you doctor. Maybe there's something coming in your future. Joseph Wood. Joseph Wood is, he was elected to the first county, Black county judge in Arkansas history, and was reelected in 2018. And I think are you just reelected again?
As chairman of the state party, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. As chairman of the RNC, the state party for Arkansas. He has just been elected recently, but he was also appointed as cabinet secretary of transportation, shared services for Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders in 2023, and then recently elected as the state party chair. There's so much more here, but I'm not going to share it because I want Joseph to be able to share it with you. Now, he's not here talking politics today, although our families have a lot to do with the policies that we then find in place. If the family's healthy, society benefits.
Amen.
When family is broken, society pays the cost. So today we're going to talk with Joseph, whose story I think gives us hope no matter what your beginning may be. Joseph, welcome.
Hey, well, so good to be here. And I tell you, some of the guests that you have are just outstanding. And to follow after Dr. Canfield, I'm like, whoa, that's a high bar to follow. So we hope we can deliver. I'm excited.
Not only are you following, he's listening off screen because he
Oh,
wants to
yeah,
hear
more
you.
pressure. Thank you, Lady Sky. I appreciate that.
So tell us, all right, where do we want to start, Joseph?
Well, in your opening, I do want to say that obviously it's a lot of things, and I'm originally from out of the Chicago area, but been in Arkansas now almost 30 years. But I am married, coming up on 33 years. I have two daughters that are married, so two son-in-laws. I have a third daughter who's 25, and I'm trying to move her on down that road. We got three grandkids, and the fourth will be here in July. So we're excited about that as well. So this whole father notion, man, I'm just so loving it. And you'll hear and understand why because of what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. All right. So let's tell people where did you start? I mean,
Sure. So
take us.
I'll start it with a story. There's this young girl who a teenager, and she just delivered a kid, and she's just bawling in her bedroom, crying because she's incapable of taking care of this kid, and so she pulls blankets off her bed and finds a box in her closet and puts this baby in the box, and she starts walking through the streets of Chicago with this newborn boy, and it's freezing outside, snow and ice. She's wrapped up pretty good, and the tears are freezing on her face. And she sees an apartment complex, and she leaves the box in front of this apartment complex. She goes and hides behind a tree and hoping and praying someone will come out of the apartment complex and save her kid. No one's coming. She's getting ready to leave from behind the tree to go and get this kid. And a light comes on the apartment complex, and she hides back behind the tree. And a man walks out of the apartment complex, and he sees this box in front of his apartment complex with the blanket moving. And he doesn't know what it is, so he takes his foot to move the blanket. The blanket moves, and it's a kid. And he's stunned. He's looking up and down the street. He really can't see because the snow and ice is blowing. And so he picks the box up carefully and he walks back into his apartment complex. He wakes his wife up. It's nighttime. He wakes her up. Wakes up in some of the neighbors, and he started walking through the neighborhood trying to figure out where this kid came from. And eventually they get the Chicago police to come. They're walking around the neighborhood asking questions, and they say, "Hey, you saved this kid. We're going to take him to the orphanage downtown Chicago." And um, that was the beginning of my journey. That's the beginning of my story. And so I was an orphan kid, always knew that. I was adopted at 10 years old, always knew that. But that was all. No one had information because all of records and all was sealed. Many states have records sealed to protect those who are giving up the kid for adoption, to protect the adoptee and to protect those parents who are adopting the kid. Something happened though. I always was searching. I always wanted to find out who my birth parents were just to let them know, hey, I'm okay, and just to encourage them, thank them for giving me life. And because they gave me life, I was able to have a life. Well, no luck because everything was sealed. 15 years ago, 16 years ago, the laws changed in the state of Illinois, said that if you ever adopted, you can have your original birth certificate. And I'm thinking, oh my word, if I get my original birth certificate, I'll see who my mother and my father's names are on there, and I can go ahead and search and find them and let them know, hey, I'm okay. And but they were typical government. They were quick, Lady Scott, to take my money, but they were slow in getting the information to me. And so months later, I finally get this mail from the Vital Records in Illinois, the Bureau of Labor, Vital Records. And I had just come in the house sweating from cutting grass, and my wife's like, "Oh, you got some mail from Illinois?" And I was excited. I ripped open the paper, the mail, and looked at it. And I'm like, "This is not a birth certificate. three kids and three grandkids and two son-in-laws. I know what a birth certificate looks like. This says, this is your foundling certificate of birth. I'm like, a foundling? Now, your audience is pretty smart, Lady Sky. I never heard of the word foundling. I had to look up the word, and the word, you were abandoned, you were found. I'm like, what? You were found on March 20th. I'm like, that's my birthday. No, that's just the day you were found. You were found at this address by this man, Caesar Johnson, and you were received into the orphanage by this doctor. And it just took the wind and life out of me. And my family is trying to, what's wrong? What is a founder? That's not a birth certificate. And I'm now trying to explain to them. And it took me about 2 weeks to get over this shock of what I was reading. I'm 45 years old, 46 years old, and but I'm a fighter. I said I got to find this doctor who took me into the orphanage and see if he remembers anything more. I did the research. I found him. He had died in 1999. Then I said, I wonder, can I find the guy who found me? And I did all this research, and I had everybody that I found was younger than me, so it couldn't have been them. But there was three names left on my list that were Caesar Johnson, and the very first number I called, older woman answered the phone, and I said, "Hey, my name is Joseph Wood. I'm looking for a guy by the name of Caesar Johnson. He spells his name a little differently. He would have saved someone." And she's like, "My husband saved someone?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Well, he does spell his name differently. How do you spell it?" And I spelled it. She said, "Yeah, that's correct." She said, "Save someone?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Hold on, well, what's your phone number?" Now, before I made the phone call to this first number, I had called my wife and said, "How do I get somebody to take my phone number down? I'm about to make these calls." And my wife's like, "Why do they need to take your number down?" I said, "Well, if I say something that surprises them, shocks them, and they hang up the phone, they at least have my number if they ever decide to call me back." You got to know my wife. Will you stop analyzing? Get out of your head. Just make the phone call. You always in there. You've been working, looking your whole life. Just make the call. That was not the response that I wanted, but Dr. Canfield probably can attest that if you are married for a nanosecond, just do what your wife says. It makes life a little simpler and easier. So anyway, I got off the phone with her and made the call. Well, now this woman is saying, "Well, what's your phone number?" She's asking me, and now I'm crawfishing. Well, why do you need my phone number? Well, he's 80 years old. He's hard of hearing. I may have to switch phones. And when she said he's 80 years old, hard of hearing, I'm thinking, if he's 80 and I'm 45, I bet those numbers start working. I'm having this conversation in my head, and all of a sudden she said, "Hello, what's your phone number?" I'm like, oh. Started giving my number. She stopped. She said, "Hold on. You said a baby he saved? Was it a baby he saved?" "Yes, ma'am." "Are you the baby he saved?" "Yes, ma'am." "Oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus." She went into a Holy Ghost meltdown. "Lord Jesus." Oh, she was screaming, "Caesar, that baby you say, oh, Jesus, Jesus." And I am bawling. I mean, not just watching E.T. movie tears. I mean, I'm snotting and, "Caesar, that baby you saved." He comes to the phone. Mr. Caesar is very different than his wife, Ruthie. Uh, he answers the phone. "Hello. My name is Joseph." Hello. He can't hear anything. She's in the background going, "Can I tell him it?" She starts talking to him. He comes back. "Oh my gosh, you alive? Oh my, wow, that had to be, I remember like it was yesterday. That had to be over 50 years ago." "No, it was only 45 years ago." And he said, "Wow, I remember like it was yesterday. I was a night supervisor working at the Campbell Soup manufacturing plant, walked outside, and there's this box with a blanket moving. I thought it was a dog or something. I took my foot to move the blanket moved. There was a kid in there. I'm looking up and down the street, and I brought you back in, and the police came, and wow, you alive. Oh my Lord. I would love to meet you." And so we started a relation and had a good, he died at 86 years old, but he was a Korean veteran. And it changed his life coming back from Korea. He lost a lot of buddies. He got into drinking and alcohol. But when his family said, "You found him," it changed him. And in fact, the state of Illinois gave him a citation saying, "Thank you for serving our country in Korea, but thank you for saving this kid." He is now Deputy Secretary of State in Arkansas and now running for judge. And it just really just awakened him and his family. And his family has always heard the story about him finding this kid. And now at reunions, I'm there with him, and they're just loving on this kid because they always heard the story. And now this guy's in front of them. But yeah, that is kind of my journey and my story. And it's been a difficult. When I say I struggled a lot as a kid and in high school, trying this identity thing we may have been, you and I talked about earlier, trying to figure out who I am and why. And the people who adopted me, they had been married 5 years. She wrote in her high school yearbook, "I want to be a teacher and have a house full of kids." She went on to become a teacher, didn't have a house full of kids, and he was a construction worker in this city of Chicago, and he hated coming home from work because she put him back to work. She wanted to get pregnant and have a house full of kids, and um, about 5 years of marriage, and she said, "Well, let's go downtown to the orphanage and we can foster a little girl." And my dad was like, "Great, whatever you need to do, let's go get your kids. Get off my back. I'm tired." They went down to the orphanage and she sees all these kids, and you got to know her. She wanted all of them, and then she said, "Nope, I want to foster this little boy right here." And she brought me home. She was happy. She had a kid. My dad was happy. She had a kid, and about a year later, they both so relaxed, I guess. She got pregnant, had my brother. A year later, she got pregnant again, had my sister. A year after that, she got pregnant again and had my brother. So I'm the oldest of four. And again, it was like the Lord heard her and say, "I'm gonna give you a house full of kids, but go get this one first." And that's what it was. Fast
Her
forward,
heart, her
huh?
heart. I'm gonna hold your fast forward
Sure,
because we have to do one more break.
sure.
We'll take this break and we'll be right back, and everybody can hear that fast forward. Stay tuned.
Gotcha.
Joseph Wood.
Excellent.
It's just a delightful story.
This is great. Okay, more on that.
Yep.
Hey, everybody, we offer you a couple of different items because you have different preferences and everyone responds differently. These are what I call the Swish and Swallows from Neumi.com, neumi.com/TTSS. Again, helping you feel your best. The lavender's for ladies. It doesn't have any hormonal supplements, but if you are on set, you might want to check with your doctor before you take it. This is helpful all the way through your journey. The blue is for anybody over 18. It has the glutathione. Glutathione is necessary. You would not live 3 to 7 minutes without it if you're oxygen-based life form, which we all are. It also helps detox. This is the thing. It helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, something we never heard about until 2020, and glyphosate. For those who are concerned about glyphosate being linked to some ag products, which have concerns with diabetes, HPVs, and cancers, the glyphosate, the glutathione, the good, helps detox the glyphosate. People take IVs for glutathione. It's very expensive. And of course, it doesn't last. It wanes. This is a great way to take it consistently, and it's less inexpensively. These you just take, swish and swallow, swish 3 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 minutes, whatever you like, and then swallow. Now, this blue, when used with the new product, the Neumi Neuro, this mango colored bottle, the Neumi Neuro, you'll see it on your screen here shortly. That is for your mind, your memory, and your focus. Your mind, your memory, and your focus. And that helps with the blue bottle. The American Brain Council was so impressed that they wrote something so positive that it's like an endorsement, which I guess they don't do very often at all. You want more information? Neumi, neumi.com/TTSS. Again, because we want you feeling your best. All right, Joseph Wood. I mean, an orphan baby to a bank examiner to being the deputy secretary for the state of Arkansas, to the head of the recruitment at Walmart, to the university assistant director for the University of Chicago Booth School, Illinois bank examiner, bank commissioner. I get goosebumps, Joseph, when I say that.
Wow. It's been an unbelievable journey, and I will tell you that I've been blessed. If the Lord took me off this world right now, I know I've had a blessed life to know now from whence I come from, and to be and do, and to have a wife and 3 beautiful daughters, 2 son-in-laws that are just amazing. And again, everybody thinks they got the best grandkids, but I'm just saying I got the best, 3 best, and about the number 4 coming on. It's been a ride. In fact, I'd like to say when I was the Secretary of Transformation for Governor Sanders, I was doing Doge before President Trump came in and doing Doge. We were really trying to be the efficient effectiveness and all. And then the governor said, you might want to think about running for chair of the party. I started laughing. I said, Governor, I did this about 15 years ago, ran for chair of the party. You were probably a freshman in college. She started laughing. She said, appreciate you thinking I was that young, but I was here out of college when you did that. But it was big news, and you only lost by like 9 or 10 votes. You need to think about doing it again. And I did. I won. And again, I just won re-election back in December. So it's been a journey, and I've just been blessed. But I will,
Um,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful I got to know you, and I wouldn't if you weren't chair of the party. And I've got to go to Arkansas last year and speak to your Republican Women State Convention. It was quite a treat. And they invited me back for Flag Day this Saturday, but I couldn't come. And I
Hmm.
hope you have a wonderful event there. I know it's a big event.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you want to tell the story or not,
Yes,
but
fast
you,
forward to I'm running for lieutenant governor probably 3 years ago when Governor Sanders was running for governor. And so we're running around the state, and there was a guy who kind of heard this story, and he said, "Hey, this is the most unbelievable story. And you still haven't found your folks?" I said, "Oh no, I'll never find them. I've been searching my whole life and all. But I found the guy who found me, and that's been a great ride." And he said, "I just want to do a documentary." And he did this documentary. He flew to Wisconsin to meet Caesar's wife, who was around, and so she told a little part of her story. He flew to Ohio to visit with my oldest daughter because she's been on the journey the longest, right? Um, he did all this and put this documentary together, and all of a sudden it got viral, and people started picking up, and Family Life Today and Washington Post, they started doing all these articles. Fox, that this our guy from Little Arkansas is running for lieutenant governor, but he's a foster kid, adopted, and looking for his family. Well, I got a call from CC Moore. CC Moore does Forensic Files and the DNA Detective, those TV shows and all. She started doing this by helping people find people. Thanksgiving evening, she sends me a note and says, "I want to help you find your family." And I'm sitting here like, I know who she is. And I'm like, how did she know us? Because all this viral piece. And I'm sitting here, well, you're not going to find them. I've been searching my whole life. And it's almost like she put her hand through the phone and was like, yeah, but this is what I do. Can I help you? And I said, sure. Literally, Christmas Eve, she called and said, "I found your family." That was 3 years ago. And I mean, I was just blown away. She found them, and literally, my mother lived less than a block away from where I was found. The guy who found me, Caesar Johnson, she lived less than a block away, almost as if she wanted somebody in that house. He had 2 kids and one on the way, and she wanted him to probably keep the kids. She can watch them grow up. I don't know, but she was 21 when she had me. I was the number fourth kid. So I imagine a whole lot going on at that point in time. But again, I went ahead and found I went and saw my mother's side. She has a huge family. My father's side, super huge. 14 members of his brothers and sisters. 5 of his sisters are still alive. They do a reunion every 2 years. 70 plus years they've been doing reunions, and I've been to 2 already, and I've only found them 3 years ago. So, and they've embraced me and loved on me. And so again, what I thought would never happen. And again, I didn't. My mother died in 1977. She was 36 years old. My dad passed in 2012. I had a grandfather who passed in 2020. He was 99 years old. But I have a sister who's 1 year older than me, and she treats me like a little brother. And that's hard because I told you I'm the oldest of 4 on my adopted side. And so trying to play the oldest and then all of a sudden be relegated to the baby. Anyway, it's just been an incredible journey.
so I want to pop these on the screen before we run
Yes.
out of time. We're down to our last minute and a half. Reagan, please put up photo 7. This is Saving Joey. Photo 7. Your
Yep.
book, this is a part of a series, The Joseph Journey. Tell us, I will put up photo 7 and we'll put up photo 8 as well. Tell us quickly about these books and how we can get them.
Saving Joy is a story I told you about the guy who comes out of his apartment complex and sees this. In the children's book, I said it was a basket that he found me in, but in real life, it was a box that he found me in, a little bigger than maybe a shoebox. The second book was Adopting Joy, and the story of the 2 people who couldn't have kids, and so they thought, and they go to the orphanage, and she sees all these kids. She said, "Nope, I want to foster this little boy right here," and they adopt me. So those are the two out there. You get them on Amazon, like $10 or something like that.
We give you 30 seconds for a closing message.
30 seconds, stay on your journey. We have no idea what's out there and what's planned, but you can only stay on your journey. You stay on your journey, there will be people on your path who's going to be able to assist you. The things that you're walking through, you may find that, man, it's not so bad compared to that. The Lord's got purpose in the plan, and that's why we're here. And the only way we can figure out all the purpose in the plan and do His will is to stay on that journey.
Yes, important. I am so glad that I get to know you. All you people who say those people, when you talk about the RNC, listen to these stories.
Wow.
Listen to these stories and don't put us in a box. We have incredible people with incredible
life histories there. And so you are the foundling with the future. And I
love it.
I just love it. All right. So everybody out there, we tell you, live boldly, love better, laugh bigger, have a happy Father's Day, be encouraged, and never be complacent.
You are watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcast.